Hey, what's up, fam? It's Raphael Freeman from Utter Abundance, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about spirituality because the notion of spirituality, it really is so entwined and intertwined with so much of what happens when we actually begin to manifest the things that we really want in our lives. If you're looking at the law of attraction, or if you prefer the term law of abundance or law of vibration or alchemy, or call it whatever it is that you want, because in essence, it's all the same thing. There aren't like different laws. It's all one process, really. But spirituality is tied so closely to that process that it's important for me to tether out what that means, especially when I say the word. So, a lot of people are trying to tease out religion and spirituality, and I have a lot of ideas of what religion is too. Actually, some really interesting, I think I have an interesting take on what religion is. But for these purposes, spirituality is just a focus on the inner self, your inner world. If you were to think about how people focus on their outer world, you could focus on your relationships with other humans, for example. Or really in a self-improvement way, what you find is that going to the gym, running, running can sometimes be spiritual. So maybe that's not but running focuses on your outer self for a lot of people. Going to the gym is definitely focusing on your outer self. Maybe there's a layer beneath that. If you're reading, let's say, to expand your mind, to give you tools so that you can then approach the outer world in a different kind of way. That's sort of like a medium. That's like your not quite inner world, but it certainly has to do with expanding your mind. And I think yoga fits into that category too. But when you start asking really interesting questions and exploring, so if you can think about where psychology ends, right? Psychology ends at the exploration of, let's say, your thoughts and your memories and your feelings. But psychology can't really ask questions about, what is the purpose of your existence? What is meaningful to you and why? I mean, psychology doesn't really have answers or even a methodology to explore those types of questions. And the biggest one, the biggest question that I think is sort of at the heart of what you might consider spirituality is, who am I? Like, who am I really? That you're not your name, you're not your height, you're not your weight, you're not your gender, you're not your race, you're not the person that you married. There's a sense of you-ness that persists through time. Obviously you're not the same person that you were when you were 7, but there's a sense of who you were at 7 that persists through time. That you-ness and the attempt to look at that you-ness, whatever that is, that you that is persistent through time, that is the thing that is at the core of spirituality, and exploring that world, exploring the world of how do you exist against the backdrop of all of existence, and what is your role in that? And they're questions that I think philosophy can sort of, struggle with and deal with in ways that psychology can't. But ultimately, when it comes to your direct sense of that feeling and of that pursuit, that's the essence of spirituality. And the reason that's important is that it starts to come up when you're dealing with alchemy and the law of attraction. At some point, Jim Rohn, who is the master speaker and the person who really set, I think, the frame for so many other speakers and self-development people to come after, who came after him. Jim Rohn really, he has a really incisive question and way of thinking about this question of who am I becoming? And there are two things that he says. One, he says, he learned from his mentor, Earl Shoaff, that he should try to pursue $1 million. He should seek to become a millionaire, and not for the money, but who he'll become in the process. And the other thing that Jim Rohn says that I really like is, when you're at a job, don't ask, what am I getting here? ask, who am I becoming here? And that question, I think, in a very real way, is also at the heart of how we think about spirituality and its nexus, right? And its connection to manifesting the life that you want and the law of attraction. It's like, who am I becoming? Because the person that you are right now and all the things that you want, you haven't become the person yet that deserves the things that you want. It's a process. You are going to change in the process. You're going to find that there are things that you're going to have to give up. There are ways that you're going to have to be that you've never been before. And the way that we know that this is true is if you were the person right now, right at this moment, who deserved, who merited, right, who had sown all the things and you were ready to reap, then you would already have them, which is fine. It doesn't mean that just because you have them now, it doesn't mean that you can't become that person. But you have to, I mean, this is the essence of alchemy, right? You have to transform yourself into the person that you need to be so that those things will come to you. And so part of the law of attraction is about, putting this energy out into the universe, or describe it however you want. But the other part, which is a really important part, is also transforming yourself into the person that you need to be so that those things, so that you're worthy of those things, those things are worthy of you. Every now and then people get lucky, and you shouldn't be fooled by the windfalls, right? Because the windfall always comes before the downfall. You don't know how short of a distance in time it's going to be between a windfall and a downfall. But if you just look at the people who come into a windfall, sports players who get a whole lot of money, people who win the lottery, people who get rich too fast on like social media and they haven't really done the sort of inside work. Without doing the inside work, what you're going to find, young Hollywood people, what you'll find is that the money will be the source of their downfall. It will undo them. And it's because you simply haven't become that person yet. And you actually have to become the person. Jim Rohn says another thing, and I promise I won't just fill this thing with Jim Rohn quotes, but he says, in some ways, if you win $1 million, you best become a millionaire. That way you get to keep the money. And he's not talking about, he's not talking about becoming a millionaire in terms of the money. He's talking about the mentality, right? The person on the inside. You need to become a millionaire there so that you can hold on to the money. George Clason talks a little bit about this too in The Richest Man in Babylon, which I suggest that everyone read. But anyway, the only reason that I mention it is because this very process of becoming the person that you need to be will require you to ask questions of yourself. It will require you to ask things like, who am I? Who am I really? And what am I about? And what is life about? And what do I want? And why do I want it? And in that attempt to explore and uncover, and here's another really important one. What am I willing to give up? Right? If you think that you can be the person that you are now and not give up anything, you're sadly mistaken. You will have to become a slimmer, more svelte, more agile version of yourself. You will have to trim down, and I don't mean physically. I mean you're gonna have to burn the impurities away. So that's a spiritual pursuit. It's absolutely critical, I think, to manifesting the thing that you really want. Unless that thing is too, a stone's throw away. But it's also a process, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful process to learn about yourself and see the ways that you've been in your own way for so long, and what it means to take responsibility for your life, to take responsibility for your outcomes, and to be able to just stick your hands in and start working your own life as if it's clay, so that you can mold yourself into both the reality and the person that you deserve. And so that's my take on spirituality. Appreciate you hearing me out.